NASCAR just made a call that's going to bring an entire sport to a standstill. Not a suspension, not a rule change, something bigger. For one night in October, Charlotte Motor Speedway isn't going to be about who wins. It's going to be about a driver who's never walking back through that garage again, and thousands of fans are being asked to show up and say goodbye in person. This is the moment NASCAR stops racing the clock and starts reckoning with a loss it still hasn't fully processed. Here's exactly what's happening. NASCAR has confirmed a public celebration of life for two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch. The date, Friday, October 9th. The location, Charlotte Motor Speedway. The timing, right after the Craftsman Truck Series race during NASCAR's fall weekend. It's completely free to attend. No tickets, no gate fee, no VIP-only access. Speakers and full ceremony details haven't dropped yet. NASCAR says that's coming in the next few weeks, but the framework is locked in, and it's already reshaping how this sport is going to close out its season. To understand why this decision hits so hard, you have to understand the venue NASCAR picked. Charlotte Motor Speedway isn't just another stop on the schedule. It sits in the backyard of the sport itself, surrounded by the shops, the manufacturers, the race teams that make NASCAR run. If there's a spiritual home for this sport, this is it. That's not a coincidence. NASCAR could have kept this private. Family, close friends, a closed room. Instead, they threw the doors open to the public, turning a memorial into a shared moment for an entire fan base that's been grieving in silence since the spring. And Busch's resume explains exactly why that decision was necessary. 2 Cup Series championships in 2015 and 2019. Rookie of the Year back in 2004, 63 Cup wins. One of the most prolific winners across all 3 of NASCAR's National Series ever. On top of that, he was building the next generation of talent through his own Truck Series operation. You don't quietly memorialize a resume like that. NASCAR clearly understood that trying to keep this small would have felt like an insult to what he built. Now here's where it gets interesting from a strategic standpoint, because this wasn't just an emotional decision, it was a calculated one. Think about the timing. NASCAR didn't rush this out days after his passing, when the shock was still raw and logistics would have been a scramble. They waited. They let the fall schedule align to this tribute lands during one of the sport's marquee weekends at one of its marquee tracks, maximizing both the turnout and the weight of the moment. That's smart programming. It's also smart business, whether NASCAR says it out loud or not. A free public event at Charlotte during a nationally broadcast weekend is going to draw media coverage, fan traffic, and emotional engagement that a private service never could. NASCAR gets to honor a legend and reinforce its own cultural relevance in the same breath. But there's risk here too. Public grief at this scale is unpredictable. You're talking about thousands of fans, some of whom loved Busch, some of whom spent years booing him as the sport's most polarizing figure, because, let's be honest, Rowdy earned that nickname. Managing that many emotions, that much history in one open setting is not a small production challenge. If the ceremony feels overproduced or if it leans too hard into spectacle, NASCAR risks backlash for turning mourning into a marketing moment. The bigger question is whether NASCAR can hit the tone right. Too corporate and it feels hollow, too raw and it becomes overwhelming for a crowd that size. The margin for error here is thin. Fan reaction so far has been split between 2 emotions, gratitude and grief. Plenty of fans are relieved they'll get the chance to be part of this in person instead of watching a private ceremony unfold from the outside to a press release. For a fan base that followed Busch through 2 decades of wins, feuds, and headlines, being physically present matters. But there's also a heaviness to it. This isn't a retirement tour or a farewell lap. It's a funeral wearing the structure of a race weekend, and that contrast is going to hit hard for a lot of people walking through those gates. Expect the media coverage to lean heavily into legacy pieces in the weeks leading up to October 9th, retrospectives on the championships, the rivalries, the villain persona he never apologized for. That narrative engine is already starting to turn. So where does this go from here? 2 paths. Best case, NASCAR delivers a ceremony that matches the size of Busch's career. Meaningful speakers, a crowd that turns out in force, and a moment that becomes a defining memory for the sport rather than just a news cycle. Done right, this becomes something fans talk about for years, the same way they still talk about tributes to NASCAR's other legends. Worst case, the scale becomes the problem. Logistics get messy, the tone misses, or the event gets overshadowed by the noise of a live race weekend happening around it. If that happens, NASCAR opens itself up to criticism that this should have stayed a smaller, more intimate goodbye. Given how deliberately NASCAR has handled this so far, the venue, the timing, the transparency about details coming later, the smart money says they land closer to the best case outcome. But execution is everything, and we won't know until October 9th actually arrives. So here's the real question. Was opening this up to the public the right call, or should some goodbyes stay private? Drop your take in the comments. Are you planning to be at Charlotte on October 9th or watching from home? If you want the breakdown when the speaker list and full ceremony details get released, make sure you're subscribed, because SportsWire USA is going to be covering every update between now and October.